Hello, my friends. Hello. I can see loads of people tuning in already. We've got Hamish, Susan, Emma, Ryan. Hello, Susan, Lindsay, Hamish with us. I said Hamish already. Hello, Hamish. Tuning in from New Zealand. Good to see you here, my friends. This is a live podcast episode. Yay! The Your Art Matters podcast live today as we do a reflection workshop together. This forms part of our best year yet, which is our annual event that we have been doing. I can't remember if it's the fifth or sixth year. I'm pretty sure it's the sixth year we've been running this, which is crazy. And that means I've been doing this process now for 7 years. And it all really began 7 years ago for me because I was just so tired of feeling like every year I wasn't getting anywhere. I really didn't know what I wanted. I kind of created goals that didn't feel right. I never hit them. I was just going round in circles all the time, and I kind of felt quite unfulfilled as a person too. And so I remember 7 years ago going through lots of books, lots of training, and came across a wonderful human being called Beth Kempton, who has a business called Do What You Love for Life. And that term resonated with me. And that's when I started to really look into the power of designing your own life, living a life on your own terms. And it's been this big, long journey ever since 7 years ago. And the life I'm living now, you know, it's not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not a millionaire. I'm not like, you know, everything's easy for me and I can just do what I want when I want. It's not like that. But I definitely, when I look back at my life now, in the 7 years that I started this process, I cannot believe the difference in myself, in the way I react to situations, in the way that I take opportunities, in the business that I've created and the home that I've just bought and all the things that I've done. 100% are down to this best year yet practice of designing your own life. And I love sharing it every year with you all and taking part in this process together. There will be people here new who have not come across this process before. Hello and welcome. There will be lots of people here who have taken this many, many times before. So, welcome back to you. It's good to have you back. The great thing is when you do this year on year on year, you really start to notice the difference in your life, your thinking. You take notice of how far you're actually coming on in life. And it's really quite exciting when you start to realize that you can design your life the way you want it. And there always will be some kind of limitations because of our commitments or, the way we've chosen to be around certain people in our lives or where we've positioned ourselves in the world to live. But you will be surprised at actually how much you can change. And especially if you're not happy with the situation that you're in right now, how you can start to plant seeds now and move out of that situation. And it's the long game. I see this as a long process. When you're designing your life, you can make changes today, but the real big changes and opportunities and big, big dreams tend to happen over time. It's because of what we do today that will impact where we are 5 years from now. And that's mind blowing when we think about that. Everything that we decide to do this year will impact where we are 5 years from now. And I love that. um, and so this event, we follow a format. And the first part is reflect, which is what we're going to be doing today. And then on the 18th of January, we start the workshops together. There will be thousands of people from around the world joining us. I think we have over 4,000 people signed up already. And we don't start until the 18th. So it's going to be a big one, my friends. We're going to have a lot of people from around the world taking part in this event, which also makes it really special, really exciting. It keeps you accountable. It keeps you fired up during the process to actually take action on this because let's face it, this can be a bit of a daunting task. And this is why I actually love doing this with you all, because if I was sat here doing this by myself, I can guarantee you I wouldn't really do it. And so having you all here to do this with motivates me too. So the more we all share openly, you don't have to share everything. This is a personal process, but just being open to sharing where you're up to, what you're doing. Feel free to open up in the chat about how you're finding this process. And of course, there will be a Facebook pop up group for the duration of the event, and that has opened today. So check your emails for that, because we will be sending you an invitation to join that Facebook group, which will give you an opportunity to connect with other people taking part in the Best Year Yet workshops. You can ask questions, share your work, and get to know others from around the world. You never know, you might make friends for life during this event. The other thing I think that's really lovely about this event is that it's from taking this time out, and I actually take out the whole of January for Best Year Yet planning. You don't have to do that. That's quite excessive. But for me, I like to take my time through this process. This is why I do the prep work, the reflection work, way before the event actually starts, because I find that the prep, reflecting, thinking about what you want, what you don't want, can take time. Sometimes the answers will come straight away, but for me, I like to sit with how I feel about things, reflecting back on past events and how that impacted where I've got to now, and what parts of that I want to bring forwards, what I don't want. And so for me, it feels like a process I don't want to rush. I like to take my time with the reflection. We're going to do the reflection now in the next hour together, but then you can go off after this session and plant some seeds, some questions where you don't need to have the answer straight away, but maybe you just question something and sit with it for a while to see how you feel, because you're designing your life. This is major. This isn't like you're just throwing together a shopping list of things that you want to get done. This is you designing your life, the most amazing creative project you're ever going to embark on. This is you taking control of your life. So I, don't feel like, for me, this is something that I like to rush. You can do it in a really quick way. I have done it in previous years when I've been really busy and I've been kind of pushed and pulled in directions. I have whizzed through this whole process. So you can do it really quickly. This year, I'm taking my time and I'm going through it. So the steps are reflect what we're doing today. Then on the 18th, we start the vision. So casting the bigger vision for your life, not just 2024, but beyond, with no time limit. That part of the process is you thinking about how you could amplify your life without fear, without money constraints. So I really love that first workshop. And then we move that into a plan, and we start to pull from your vision the three main goals that you are going to work towards in 2024 that take you towards the bigger vision. Those steps that you take in 2024 leading you towards where you become, or who you become, and where you end up in 5 years' time. And then we lead that into focus, how you create habits, how you cement this so that you do continue on with this planning in 2024, that you don't just set goals and then by the end of January you've forgotten them and they've gone. This is about making this a commitment and sticking to it, taking action, which is the final workshop. So that's the process that we're working through. And from the 18th, we've got like the whole 2 weeks to work through this together, which is really exciting. So you've got time to process it. You've got time to join Q&A sessions with me as well. So the workshops are free. They are delivered through videos like this. They'll be available until the end of the month on a replay. So if you can't attend live, you can watch them on a replay. There is an opportunity to upgrade, which will give you access to templates, resources, downloads, worksheets to help you answer questions as we go. There's loads of things that you get access to when you upgrade, and it's on offer until the 18th. So If you want to upgrade, look out in your emails for a link on that. So let's go through the prep together. If you haven't signed up yet, the link is above or below, depending on where you're watching or listening. And as soon as you sign up, we will send you the prep work. And the prep work has a downloadable worksheet. You can download it and fill it in online, or download it and print it. You can fill it in on the page itself, or you can grab a journal, which I really recommend that you do. I have a best year yet journal, and I sometimes answer the questions on the sheet here. And then I sometimes just take the question into my journal and go a little bit deeper. But I love having a specific best year yet journal, because then year on year, I go back to that journal and everything is there. So that's nice when you start to want to reflect back like we are doing today. You'll get a recap page as well with some tasks. You don't have to do all of the tasks. These are just ones that I do. I'll go through them today with you. And then I really recommend buying a year planner. Mine's laid out. I recommend buying a year planner where you can see the whole year in one. And mine's wipeable, so because things change. But when you see the year in one viewpoint, it really helps you start to see how events impact each other, how much time and space you need to create around events. Are you taking enough time off? Are you filling your time too much? So at this stage, because we haven't started to put things on the calendar yet, I buy my year planner and I start to put down dates that I might launch programs. I put all my holidays in there, time off, commitments that are non-negotiable. And I start to put the practical things in there that I know are definitely happening in 2024. And then that gives me a really good idea of the space I have for designing my life and projects and new ideas. So that's one of the tasks that I really highly recommend doing. It's been a game changer for me. And we are going to go through, and yes, like Anka says, you can make your own planner too. Absolutely. A lot of people do that. In fact, we've got some really nice pictures of people's planners, and Carol in our community has the most ginormous year planner on a wall that she made. So we're going to go through now. If you haven't got this to hand, it's okay. Just make some notes in a journal. You can go back and get this. We've emailed it out. If you don't have it, it's okay. You can go back and fill it in afterwards, or just write in a journal for now, because we are going to go through the questions in this together. Now, I literally have not started best year yet. So, which has made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, because usually I've started the process in December. I've usually mapped out my year in October, and I just haven't. I've just taken a break, and I've worked my way back into work mode. And here I am with you all doing this completely fresh. I have been thinking about it, so I feel like I have got parts of the process in my head. And I think one of the things is, when you've been doing it in your head, you have to get it out on paper or some form, digital, however you work, because otherwise you're going to fill your head with all of this stuff and it's not good. So I think just clear it out as much as possible. That's what we're going to do today. So the prep work is like peeling layers off an onion as well. I think when you start to really think and answer these questions, first of all, it's like the first layer of the onion that's been peeled. And then you might go back into these questions after this session today and drill in a little bit further. And then that's like going deeper and peeling more layers off the onion. So I love this quote before we delve in, from Steve Jobs, who said, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards." And this is what we're starting to do here now, is looking backwards, spending some time to look backwards, instead of just thinking, oh, I want to, eat well. I want to start Spanish. I want to make more art, thinking forwards. When we actually take a moment to think backwards and to look backwards on our life and the events that have happened and what brought us joy and where we learned, and all those parts of what add up to our future, that's when we can really start to connect inside with what matters, and we can start to see patterns emerging. And sometimes we overlook real gold nuggets that have happened to us that we need to acknowledge and bring to the surface again. So that's what we're doing here in this session today. Oh gosh, David said we're already 2% into the year. So, okay, the first part of this is looking back beyond the 12 months that have just passed. I like to split it up myself. So I like to look back at 2023, but before I do that, I like to just give a little recap again to, beyond that. And so what I tend to do is create a timeline, and I've shown this here. And I just go back 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't have to count, you know how to count, all the way to 2023. And what I do with this, and I've got to admit, every time I see this question come up, I think, oh, it's this one again. I only feel like I did this last week. It's so important not to skip this, because it's really lovely to just honor the moments, the milestones that have happened in your life. And so I start with the easy stuff, the things that I know. When I gave birth, when I graduated, when I started United Art Space. And what is interesting about this is, of course, this is common sense, but every time I do this exercise, when I launched United Art Space, it's going back and back and back and back into the timeline. But it feels like it was yesterday that I set up United Art Space. And so I find this really interesting. It's just an interesting process to just look back at the main milestones in your life. And so you might want to do this quickly now on a piece of paper, writing back the 10 years. You don't have to go really in depth, because we could spend the whole hour doing this together, just this one question. But a great thing to do is look back on your phone, look back in your calendar. First of all, though, just come up with those significant milestones that happened that you want to kind of bring forward on this planner that definitely happened. And then after this session, you can drill into that a little bit more and look at important things that happened in your life span. And it's up to you what time scale you want to do. I like to go back. I'm going back 10 years because there's been a lot that's happened in the last 10 years. And I really want to take time to acknowledge that and celebrate that and not overlook it. And for you, you might feel like, oh, I haven't really achieved anything in the last 10 years. And if you feel that way, more reason to do this exercise. I was really thinking about this yesterday, about how I really want to praise myself and celebrate myself, because for years and years, I just kept putting myself down. Oh, I haven't done this. I should have done this. I'll never get anywhere. I'm this person. I'm that person. And it's nice to take a minute to just say, well done. Like, look at what you've achieved. Look at the things that have happened in the last 10 years. And you got through that. You're here now as this person. Do that right now. Celebrate yourself. um, I know, Karen, exactly. Who can remember? Thank goodness if you take photos. I mean, I take loads of photos, but I can't even remember what happened last week. So that's why I have to use my calendar and I have to look back. Which is also another reason why this process is great. Because if you've been doing this a few years, just go back and go and get your sheets, because then you can just look back at all those significant moments. Okay. And so let us know in the chat, is there anything of significance that came up for you in the last 10 years that has been kind of like a real big milestone? Sit with it for a minute. Like, yeah, that's one of the things I will never forget happening to me. That was one of the things I never forget. Just bring that to the surface for a minute. Now, I think for me, obviously giving birth and launching United Art Space, they're going to be the biggest things. I can drill in there a little bit further. Recently, there was an endurance event that I did. So these are like just the big things that I'm just pulling out. And then I'm just going to give you a minute if you're doing this live before we go to the next question. And that one, you can go as, top level or as granular as you like. And some people I've even seen do timelines that are visual, and they pull out little pictures of themselves each year and all sorts. I've never gone that far, but, I've seen people do that. This is your this is you designing your own life. So I'm gonna give you ideas and questions. If they don't resonate, just leave it. Create your own questions as we go along. I might ask a question and you think, "Actually, I would word it like this." Change it. Change it for you. This is about you designing your own life. Um, So, as you think back, specifically now in relation to your art, because most people here are creatives, that's who we serve as United Art Space. So, what are some of the achievements or breakthroughs that you've experienced in your art over the last few years? So, this is specifically in relation to your art. And if nothing comes to the surface immediately, just leave it for now and come back to it. Don't try and force it and think, "Oh, I don't have any achievements. I'm rubbish." Don't get in your head about, "Oh, I can't think of anything." Because sometimes if you're like me, sometimes I just need a bit of time to sit with the questions. Um, and I think for me, the breakthrough in my art when I'm thinking beyond and backwards, years ago, I think for me, one of the biggest breakthroughs was just actually accepting myself as an artist. Because for years, I had so many fixed ideas around an artist should be able to draw exactly what they see, and an artist should be selling full time. And, I had all of these limitations that I'd placed on what an artist should be. And I'll never forget the process of releasing that and accepting art in my own way and doing it in my own way. And that was so liberating to just be like, "Yeah, this is how I make art, and this is how I'm gonna live my life." Um, and then I think also on the flip side of that was getting my degree in art because I failed school. I didn't get my GCSEs, I never went to college, and I had a big chip on my shoulder because of that, and I never ever thought I'd get a degree, ever. And so then to go on later in life and get that and prove to myself that I could do it, that was another significant moment. I'm just gonna write these down because accept. Okay. So thinking back further again, and I know this can be hard because we're thinking back beyond 2023. So we'll just go over this quickly, and then if you want to go in depth after, you can. So, but what were some of the obstacles that you overcome in previous years that really spring to mind? Some big obstacles that you overcome, and what or who helped you when it came to that? When we're looking back, it's really good to look at the things that worked well, but it's also equally good to look at what didn't go well or what we found difficult, because that gives us information to move forwards in the future. It might give us some touch points on why we're holding ourselves back now if negative things happened in the past. Um, and also we learn from these nuggets of information from the past too. Um, just without going in depth in this, I think one of the biggest obstacles that I overcame was setting up my own business and actually getting out of my own way, because for years again I convinced myself that because I have ADHD and dyslexia and my brain is wonky, that I would never be able to have my own business. And it was only because I was unemployed for such a long time and I just could not get a job. I was completely unemployable, that I started to go down the route of looking into self-employment because I felt like I had no other option at that point. But it was now in hindsight, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. And so what felt like a awful time of job interviews and having no money for 6 months and being on benefits and like really struggling and panicking and starting to apply for jobs that I just could not believe I was applying for after I'd just spent time getting a degree. Um, that was a really scary time in my life, but I look back now and it ended up becoming one of the best things that ever happened in my life. I couldn't see it at the time. It felt like the most awful time. And I remember my friends who I'd worked with in a design team. So my creative journey began in a design team years ago. And we used to create homeware products, bedding and curtains and cushions. And my job was to gather trend information and develop the products with the designers. So we would buy designs in and brief the suppliers and things like that. It was a really, really cool job. But I remember I left that job to go and pursue my degree and then spent kind of 6 years out of work whilst I was studying and making art full time. And when I finished that degree, what a great, achievement. I couldn't get a job. And I remember that time, my confidence plummeted, it just went down to the ground because all of my friends who I'd left in this amazing world of design, they were all promoted. Some of them were design directors. They were all earning loads of money. So then I started to think, what if I'd have just stayed there? I probably could have been earning loads of money like them now. And then there were quite a few people that would pity me because, I went off to do an art degree and what are you going to do now? I bet you're regretting it. So there was a lot of a lot of fear, anxiety, and I was actually sometimes contemplating like, what have I just done with my life? But look at me now, as they say. So yeah, sometimes when we have those obstacles as well or challenges, you might not see yet that it might have been a pivotal time that actually needed to happen to get you where you're going. You might still be in the thick of it right now. So okay, moving on to the next question. Thinking about all the artwork or creative work that you've ever made, what has been the most favorite piece that you've ever made? What's the piece that you've really connected with that you think, oh gosh, that artwork, I'll never forget that one, or whatever it is that you make in your creative capacity? What's the artwork that really stands out for you? There's two for me, and I think, well, because this question, I'm bending this question a little bit now because for me, visual art was my thing for years and has been. And now my art, I feel like, is moving into writing and it's evolving, it's changing. And so I think I'm going to be bending this question a little bit but thinking about art, visual art that I've created, I created these big, massive paintings. They were like 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters. And and those pieces, I just felt I really pushed myself because of the scale and the subject matter and the process, the technique, everything. I really feel like they were pieces that I felt really, really like, wow, I can't believe I've created those. And you just think, wow, did I do that? And then more recently is my little sculpture. I've returned back to three-dimensional work in 2023, and I created this little stone sculpture, and I've got such a connection to that piece, and I'm still exploring why. Um, Let me just go to some of the. Let me just go to art helped me deal with my grief after losing my mum, husband, and sister in the last 3 years. Oh, Karen, I'm sending you so much love. Um, Emma says, yeah, I've had dark moments, and then remember that I've done loads of workshops, craft sessions with people of all ages, and my son is almost 10, and I've also encouraged him in his art, and he's done some beautiful pieces. That's really lovely. Noreen says, yeah, me too, being able to actually call myself an artist, mostly from doing the art classes with our renowned Irish artist. Oh, Lindsay says, learning digital art has helped and led me to become a service designer and setting up a business with my sister. Wow. Anne says performing my poetry with my artwork live at a beautiful historic venue. Wow. Katie said, I floated around after my art degree, but UAS has helped me loads. And last year I had a piece in a gallery show. I struggled to paint as life got in the way. It's not a fantasy, but it's a dream, and I'm chipping away at living it. Oh, yeah, others here have had lots of success. Absolutely. Um, oh, Beth says achievement, continued growth and improvement. Wouldn't have achieved any of it without United Art Space. Oh. Susan says, yeah, I've learned so much, found abstract art after years of trying different things, started bag making in 2013. These last 2 years have been amazing, so much growth. Yay. This is what is exciting as well, is sometimes what we will go forwards with after this workshop is things that we want to kind of continue doing. And I'll talk about this in a minute about delving and shelving, and some things we probably don't even know yet. This is what I find exciting, is we have no idea who we're going to meet this year, who can change the pathway of our life by one interaction with somebody. And I really believe in that the people that we surround ourselves with are so, so important, because it's other people that can connect us to others, that can inspire us. And it's about how we are intentional about that, and the way we put ourselves out there and connect with other people that leads us to that. People aren't just going to fall in our pathway. It's what we do now that takes us there. So anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, this is a big one, and you might not be able to answer this straight away if you're new to this process, but we're going to think about limiting beliefs a lot, and these are the beliefs that we have that are holding us back. And so we will come back to this during the workshops, but I'm going to ask this now. What limiting beliefs have you been carrying for the past 10 years or however long? What stories are you telling yourself that are holding you back? So this might be that you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you're not qualified enough, you're not as good as other people, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough resources, you're too old. These stories are not true, and they are holding you back in some way. So just, you don't have to go into everything, because I know for me anyway, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I can tell myself, but it's like when we go through this process, we're just going to think about the main. All you need to know really is the top one that's holding you back in relation to where you want to go. And if you can reframe that, you can open up amazing doors of opportunity. So I think, really think and ask yourself, what has been the recurring story? What comes to mind without overthinking now, if you're going to be really honest with yourself, that you keep saying over and over and over again, and it's not helping you, it's holding you back? See what comes up. If you want to share it in the comments, you can. If you want to keep it private, you can. Oh, Sue had a solo exhibition last year. No sales, but never thought I would have the confidence. And it's usually that first step, isn't it, of having the exhibition, and then next time you'll think about, right, okay, I want to have some sales this time. So now what can we do? But it's those stepping stones that take you there and growing that confidence. Congratulations. That's amazing. Oh, E. Goosen says 2017 was the year that I made the decision to be an artist. Best decision of my life. Isn't that wonderful? Sometimes you've just got a year circled on your sheet. For me, it was setting up United Art Space. That's like, I'll never forget that year. Ever, ever, ever. Susan says I took the 7 keys. It was pivotal for me, made me believe in myself, and also the year I invested in myself, a 4 years abstract course again. Yay! Liz, my first printmaking workshop in June 2018. Complete joy, start of my new art life. Oh. Lindsay built her own art studio, what was a major move, and 2 months ago starting to build my own website, which I guess is as big a job as the art studio that you built. Oh, Nish says my milestone was joining this community. I love that. I love that is on your timeline. Yeah, Nick said limiting beliefs, all of those that you mentioned. And so, Nick, as we go through this process, and you have to have the answers now. We're just reflecting. when we go through this process, you'll start to think about what it is that you want from your life and which of those beliefs that you need to kind of work on to move past. You don't have to fix everything, but just one. Hi, Nicola. It's great to see you here. One limiting belief that I have had, still working on is the idea that I cannot cope with life, with workload, with managing business decisions, with transactions. This is slowly changing. How many people here have that one crop up? I do a lot. Just things, especially in 2023, which we're going to move on to now. There was a lot of things that cropped up for me that just felt too big. Like, this feels too big. Um, I feel like I'm not going to be able to get this done, like the house and everything, and trying to juggle the kids with the house. And but I did. And so, yeah, this is a big one. And I think it's a big one in the world at the moment and it's something that I want to talk throughout the rest of the workshops about, is doing less to do more, because it's a strange concept that's bounced around a lot. And it can feel just like a stupid phrase that's just bounced around just to try and get people to sign up to things, to be honest. But there is some truth in it. And I will talk about this more throughout the workshops, this do less to do more, because since I've adopted that phrase and I've streamlined things, I do get more done by doing less. It's a paradox, but it really, I won't talk about it now because we're going to stay on track and reflect together. But it's definitely something we'll talk about when we go into the workshops. So I totally understand, Nicola, what you're saying there, and I really like how you've brought awareness to that. Anne says, it for me, it's the belief that I lack the resources, the tech knowledge to fully participate in my art practice. Yeah. Um, and again, when you it goes back to surrounding yourself with people too, because I've surrounded myself with people that just do things in the most simplistic way. My friend Sharon, who I'll be talking about a lot, oh gosh, she's the epitome of that. She'll just keep things so simple, and she's not techie at all. And I'll share more stories, but she's so inspiring. And I do believe that sometimes we can get derailed by looking at how other people do things. And like, oh, if they sell their art in this way, or they're doing workshops in this way, and they have all these amazing imagery and they have all of this stuff, and maybe that's what I need to be able to do that, but it's just not the truth. And this is where we've got to be careful, I think, in today's world, is comparing ourselves always to other people and how they do things, because there is no one way to do anything, and you can do things in your own way. So we have to be careful what we're seeing around us and how we're then portraying this image of, oh, that's how I need to do it. We have to be careful there. And there was another thing as well, and I've completely forgotten it. It's what other people are doing. Oh, other people's opinions. This is the other big one. I've got a real thing about this at the moment. It's because social media is so opinion based and it's everywhere. I mean, I don't really go on social media that much anymore, but it's just everywhere. People's opinions are everywhere, which is great that people have a platform to share opinions on. But the downside is that as a social media user, that it can be really distracting, really soul destroying. Let me share an example really quickly, which we're going to talk about having a word for the year in a minute. It might resonate with you, it might not. A word that kind of sums up 2024 and where you want to take it. And I saw someone recently bashing down people that choose a word, going, it's just ridiculous. You're just following a trend. It doesn't work. It's stupid. And it's a complete waste of time. Which for some people might be true. But there are lots of other people that have a word, use a word, and it doesn't make them stupid. It doesn't mean that they're wasting their time. But these opinions that are bashed around can start to influence you. And I'm seeing this a lot. And that's why I love doing these workshops, because I want you to really connect with what you want and you to be confident enough to see other people's opinions and not be derailed by them, because you're so certain about what it is you're doing and where you're going. Because we only get derailed by those opinions when we're not sure of ourselves and we don't have a clue what we're doing and who we are. And so, yeah, Let's go back to the worksheet. So let's reflect on the last 12 months. So we're going now to 2023, and you'll want your camera roll or something, just or your calendar. 2023, this was the year that, just fill it in. This was the year that, for me, this is an easy one for me. I moved house. Actually, not just moved house, I bought my own house, which is something that I never, ever, ever, ever thought I'd be able to do. Never, never in a million years. And I wrote a book, which is very in its early stages, but I wrote a book. Still needs editing, but I wrote a book. So, um, that's the top level. That's the first layer of the onion, and I might dig a little bit deeper into that. But that's just at this stage, just whatever comes to your head. Don't even need to get your camera roll out at the moment, maybe. Just sometimes there's two ways of doing this process I find best year yet when you answer questions. One way is to answer them as fast as you can without getting in your own head. What comes up immediately for you when you read that question, and write it down, because that's usually like the most intuitive one that comes from inside of you. The other way is to get in your head and look at things and analyze it. Both are okay. But at this stage, I'm just going to do whatever comes to my head for these next few. Let me go to the chat. Oh, Cecilia said joining the hub has been one of my best milestones. Everything started shifting ever since. Oh, I love that. Our hub membership is our hub platform where people become members of United Art Space and access an amazing community and resources. I love that. Amanda says 2023 was the year I was invited to create work to show in Paris, and 2024 I was selected. Yes. Katrina sold and moved out of my partner's flat, moved across country. Oh, wow. Victoria said 2023 was the year I took my art more seriously. Anna said 2023 is the year that I started painting and sold my first 2 paintings. Oh. Karen says I retired. Wow. That's going to be a great one on your milestone in the future. Oh, Emma says, if you're a parent, grandparent, or anyone who does crafts with children in your family, don't disregard that when you're writing your review of the year. I did a Sunday school craft session over Christmas, and an 8-year-old told me he'd never used clay before. Oh, I was shocked and sad. I don't know what they're doing in schools now, but it's not art. Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on this one, Emma. Sharon, obviously, is a potter, my friend. I say obviously, some people might not know Sharon. She's a potter, and she's going on this mission actually to get clay in people's hands. To return people back to the land and the earth. So yes, that's so lovely, and massive milestones that need to be put down. This doesn't have to be like big life-changing things. It's what's significant for you, because this is your life. So 2023 was my biggest challenge, sorry, in 2023 was, what was your biggest challenge in 2023? I'm just going to write the house. It was my biggest achievement and also my biggest challenge, without a doubt. And I'm glad to be moving on now in 2024 with that behind me. 2023 was the year I found my niche. Cats. Oh, that's from Egoosen. Thank you. My health was my biggest challenge. Oh, Susan. Bowdy said 2023 was the year I entered my first sculpture prize and won my first art prize. Oh, congratulations. I paid off a big debt, which I did not believe I could do, and I'm still amazed. Still a lot to go to be debt free, but now I know I can do it. Yes, it's those milestones, those breaking it down, chunking it down. When I had to get out of debt years ago, it's the same thing. Chunking it down and getting rid of one, and it gives you that sense of achievement that yes, I'm on the pathway. Amanda said my biggest challenge in 2023 was my mindset. Melanie said submitting my work for the first time, keeping time for myself, that's from Sheena. Christine creating and launching my website. Nish aimed at using tried to use acrylic, still not there. That was a challenge. And not being able to finish my last pencil drawing. So what was and some people don't like to answer this one, and it's completely up to you whether you want to answer this or not, but what was your biggest disappointment in 2023? And this one, I think when you look at kind of what you want and what you don't want, that can help you shape your future. And so sometimes looking at something that really disappointed you can sometimes give you the clues of, I don't want to go there again. I don't want that again. Or if something really disappointed you, sometimes it's a lesson in maybe how you need to change as a person. Because if I was really disappointed by that, maybe it was something that I needed to do differently, or maybe I need to think about working on that part of myself. If it's someone else that disappointed me, maybe I need to do something. Maybe it wasn't them, maybe it was me. These are the questions that you can start to ask yourself. You don't need to ask them yet, just put down what the disappointment was. But I'm just telling you how this is going to be useful when we come to create your vision. So, your biggest disappointment. And sometimes the answers come straight to me, and sometimes they just don't. Sometimes I have to sit and think. I think I'm going to come back to that one. I'm going to come back to that one. And the next question is kind of reframing it. So, and this is just something that I like to do, because when I bring something negative up, I like to kind of counteract it with a positive. So even though that happened, I feel fortunate because, and you might not know why you feel fortunate yet, but I do believe that in every kind of challenge or negative situation, there is always some kind of lesson in it. And I like to kind of pull out the lesson. So thinking about what the biggest disappointment was, and then even though that happened, I feel fortunate because. Biggest disappointment from Katie, that the piece in the gallery show didn't sell. I really could have done with the money. Also, getting it there and back was a real pain, but it did help my confidence to actually show, and it was suggested to another hub member. Amanda says, I feel fortunate because I was able to buy a second-hand drawing table. It takes up less space, and I'll put it together at the weekend. Okay, so that was following a disappointment by setting up my art space and then having to take it away when adult children came home, and then putting it back together only to have it taken away again. Oh. Oh, Leanne says, I feel fortunate because I am thinking of ways to overcome challenges and find new horizons. And this is a big part of Best Year Yet. It's about how we are not going to come out of 2024 unscathed. And I find it really interesting to sit here now thinking about the next 12 months ahead, and how, I can think about it in a really, really positive way, which I do. But then there's also probably going to be lots of things that are going to come in my pathway I'm going to have to overcome. And I think a lot of this process as well is preparing yourself for any kind of experience this year, and going back to what Nicola says, that whatever happens, I can cope. I will deal with whatever 2024 throws at me the best that I can. And that's what having a best year yet is all about. So, what were some of your biggest lessons in 2023? It might be in relation to your art, it might just be in relation to your life, relationships. What was the biggest lesson that comes to mind in 2023? I think for me, my biggest lesson was that I realize now that if I know like big goals that I've done, like climbing a mountain 8 times and this house, if someone had shown me the steps before I embarked on those 2 big things, I would never have done them. Never. I would never have said yes. I wouldn't be living here now. And that's been a big lesson to me in that sometimes if we know what's ahead of us and we've got a dream, but we can see the steps ahead and we know what it's gonna actually take, we hold back and we resist. And sometimes there is a lot of benefit in not knowing what's coming. But I think the lesson is that I've shown myself that I can do these things despite the fact that I would never have done them. So it's proved that I can do more than I realize. And actually, when you just chunk things down, we are so capable of more. So I think that's been my biggest lesson. Lucy says, I am strong, I'm competent, and I have intrinsic value. I love that. They're the lessons. Sheena says, one door closes, another opens if you notice. Yeah. Amanda said, my biggest lesson was to stick to my goals and maintain my boundaries. I've learned to say no. I didn't like it, but I was able to say it. Leanne says, my lesson was that not everyone has your best interest at heart, and we have to follow our dreams and know that it's a journey and it's my journey. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just laughing because Caroline's just put my cupboards are here. Kat says, my biggest disappointment was not creating as much as I'd hoped, but I feel fortunate because I can see my art progressing. Kat says, although I can't see the road ahead, I'm confident and taking one step at a time and put my heart in line. Oh, Monica says, my biggest lesson was not to let the dragons in my life bring me down. Oh my gosh, I love that one. Because we're never going to get away from the dragons either. It goes back to that thing earlier about the opinions, and there are always going to be people who are going to kind of get in your pathway. You know, you've got this vision, this is where I'm going. And then it's almost like it's inevitable that things are going to crop up. And there's going to be little mountains or big hills or whatever to climb. And people, people are one of them. So yeah, again, and this is good to bring to the surface because then we can really think about that. When I create my vision board, I'm thinking about the things that I've struggled with. So I'm thinking about, I don't want to struggle with those anymore. So what am I going to do to remind myself of that? When you look back at 2023, what were some of your happiest moments? What were some of your happiest moments in 2023? Because when you answer this one, you're going to do more of it in 2024, I'm sure. What were some of your happiest moments? And you know, for me, when I think about the happiest moments, they are always like the simplest things. The walking on the beach, skimming pebbles into the water and just sitting, being really mindful. They're some of the things that I think, wow, they were some of my happiest moments. Anne says, my biggest lesson is to follow my own path. My vision is and can be the right vision. Louise is so grateful for the friends and family in her life who've taken me and supported me when I needed them. Hi, Cole. Happy belated New Year. Yes. Oh, Colin, I'm so sad that you've gone through that. Having your Facebook page locked out by someone. Is it someone that hacked it? Do you know, one of the other things that I found as well of going back over the disappointments and the challenges that I faced in previous years, I was thinking about this morning, in fact, is that when I've looked back at them, some of them that happened like 3 years ago that I've pulled back to the surface, I realized that I don't even think about them anymore. At the time, they felt disastrous. I felt like the world had ended. I felt like a stupid person. There's one in particular where we lost loads of money in the business because I had this amazing idea and the idea didn't work, and we lost loads of money. And I will never forget that moment. And I felt so oh gosh, it derailed me completely. I lost momentum, I lost confidence, and I yeah, it really knocked me sideways. And I never thought I'd recover from it financially either. I just felt like it was the worst thing ever that happened in my life. And I was crying and I was like, oh. And now I don't even think about it. I don't even think about that anymore. It's just a little distant memory now. So it's really interesting as well to look back at this to go, "Oh, do you know what?" And I've had something recently happen that wasn't pleasant. It was a challenge that we were facing. And I just thought, because I went through that terrible time, I feel like I can handle this one. And looking back at the past as well, and the disappointments and the challenges that you've had, when you realize that you coped, you got through it, you got through it, it makes you more resilient when things do happen, and they're gonna happen this year. It reminds you, "I went through that and I got through it. This is gonna be okay." So that's another reason I like to go through those bits. Also thinking like, what were you most grateful for in 2023? For me, it's like house, 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 house. That's just everything on my sheet, house. Okay, so we're gonna kind of need to move quickly now because I've got 4 minutes. This is me all over. Choose 3 words that describe the way you want to feel in 2024. What 3 words describe how you want to feel? It doesn't matter if they're the right words, just choose the first 3 words that come to your mind. They might change as you go through this process. I've just put visible, connected, empowered. That's how I want to feel. I didn't even know that until I just wrote that down. So, um, okay, 3 words that sum up how you want to feel. Louise says stable, productive, healthy. Celine says content, serene, and grateful. Susan says connected, seen, successful. Confident, happy, free. Love it, Melanie. Hi, Laura. Peaceful, relaxed, happy. Alive, calm, joyful. Um, Focus, successful, sought after. Yes, I like it. So was there something in 2023, especially in relation to making art or being a creative person like I am now? I'm thinking, what do you want to take from 2023 and bring into 2024 in relation to your creativity? And this is kind of thinking about, delving and shelving now. And I like to think about what I want to leave behind and what I want to kind of carry forwards. And is there something you want to explore more in 2024 as it relates to your art or your creativity? And again, just write it down, don't overthink it. Celine says, create something every day. And then also think about what art or kind of creative activity makes you feel confident. Is there something that you've mastered that other people go, "Oh, how did you do that?" Or is there something that, a process that you take during your creativity that really makes you feel, when you go in the zone and you feel like, "Oh God, you could just lose hours." Is there something there that you want to bring forwards into 2024 that really makes you feel connected? Monica says the lessons I learned from doing this exercise. Brilliant. Using my studio time well, finding my style with practice, making more me time. That's important. Take my self belief. I really believe in what I make. Yeah. Linda would like to travel and research my practice at a deeper level. My art on merchandise is my goal this year. I love it, Trudy. Listening more. Oh, that's a good one. Listening more. Energetic mark making. This is why I love doing this with you all. Ooh, Monique says how to make my kind of martial arts practice and art making aligned. Yeah, I know. We put the clock. Okay, let's just wrap up. This has been amazing. I wish we could do 2 hours together. So, a question to just pose now really quickly. If I could design my own life, this is how it would look and feel. And kind of just these questions now when we're thinking about the future, these are kind of kind of questions to ask yourself really quickly without thinking, because you don't want the logical brain to come in going, but how would you afford that? How can you travel if you've got the kids and they're in school? How would you live in this place when you've already got this house now? You don't want all of that coming in. You just want to answer these questions connecting to what's in here. If I could design my own life in any way possible, how would it look, feel, and be? And feeling words for me are massive. I really like choosing how I want to feel, because that then dictates what I'm going to do. So I do hone in on feeling words, but I'm a very feely person, feeling based person. Sorry. I'm just going to ask 2 more questions. And then there's some extra questions. You download the worksheet in your own time and go through them. In 2024, the art I am making is. Answer that one. Amanda says, I'd be represented by a gallery and sit in my studio producing lovely artworks. I'd have a gorgeous studio and art exhibition space. Actually, that will be happening. Unique. Archive said this hour has been fantastic. Also reading everyone's comments. I know it's lovely all doing this together. I know. I love it. I really, it's fired me up now to go and do this properly. Monica says, a life filled with challenge and safety, passion and love. And David says, yeah, I can't answer that question. If you can't answer the question, just leave it. You don't have to answer the questions. I mean, years ago, I couldn't answer those either. And there's still parts of me now, which I'll talk about. I'm going to do some live sessions over on Instagram, because I feel like I want to open up a bit more about my process, because, I've definitely been stuck with the bigger vision, like what that looks like for a couple of years now, in fact. And I feel like I'm only just starting to grasp what that is. So I felt kind of disconnected with the bigger vision for a long time. But so that means I've just focused on what I need to do in the next 12 months. But I think going back to this exercise is so important, though, because if you keep probing, you'll get there. Finally, let's end on this one. I want 2024 to be more, fill in the blank. I want 2024 to be more. Okay. Sue says, the art I'm making is full of wonder. Oh, thank you, Carl. Thank you. My art for 2024, nuanced, desirable, multi-layered with depth, simpler. So he says, less commissions and focus on play, making my own pieces. Progressive, says Leanne. Oh, Christine says, thank you so much. I feel ready for best year yet now. Yeah. More purple. Economically successful. Full of love, peace, and happiness for everyone and boundless creativity. Oh. Oh, Monica says, I'm so glad I found you. Likewise, I'm glad you're here. Okay, that's it, my friends. And then there's some free writing. So that's just touched the surface. Let me recap really quickly. When you download the prep, there is more. So this is the reflection worksheet to just go through those questions. And I would just say carve out an hour, go and sit in a cafe, light a candle or something, and just go through this in your own time. And then the other thing that I'll be doing today is creating 3 mind maps. And I create 3 mind maps, and you can call them whatever you like, but I like to do art/work, because art for me is work. Money and personal. Now, you can create as many mind maps as you like. I like to try and keep things simple. I always like to try and keep it to 3 max. You can rename them, but they're like the 3 buckets of my life that I kind of will now just start to mind map where I want to go, keywords. I'm not overthinking it. And I'm also trying not to let fear get involved here, or judgment of myself of, oh, I can't do that. Well, that's greedy. I'm just letting it go. I'm letting it all out on these pieces of paper that will be personal to me. And I recommend that you do the same. Just now you've done that reflection bit, do that bit first, the reflection bit, and then park it for a little while, and then come to these 3 mind maps and just start to put down. You can put on here what you want to delve and shelve. And so delving is what you want more of in 2024. And you might have a section that, let's leave this behind. I don't want this anymore. So you could split it into that way as well. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for attending. And this is going to be now turned into the podcast. So the podcast will be out later. So if you want to go and listen to the replay, press pause as we go back through this, you can. It will be on the Your Matters podcast. Thank you so much. And I'm going to do more live podcasts in 2024. That's something I want to do more of. So thank you so much for joining. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.